everyone. Welcome to our UTS Kung Fu seminar. Today we're going to discuss the Legend of Shaolin. Okay, this is really interesting topic, and because there's a lot of legend from Shaolin Temple. Okay, we're really great to invite Shuai to come here today to give a talk, because he has been doing a lot of the research on about the legend of the Shaolin. And here I also need to thank you, one of the master here, Master Lonis, to come to our seminar. Maybe he can give us a little bit of the opinion as well. Okay, now let me welcome Shuai to come in front.
Thank you. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Legends of Shaolin. So mainly I put uncovering in there because there's a lot of legends of Shaolin, and the thing with legends is that a lot of legends are partially true. Now, the understanding partially true is that there might be, maybe 100 out of 100, there might be only 30% which is true and 70% which is exaggerated. But how do you tell the difference? There are many popular beliefs within Shaolin about what really happened. But let's go have a look at just what it is. But firstly, I just got to say that I personally am not a disciple of Shaolin. So I'm not affiliated with Shaolin Temple anyway, other than the fact that I have been practicing Shaolin martial arts for most of my life, and I have been there as well. So I hope to bring some of my own personal experiences as well as some of the research I have done on this topic. So this is a bit about me. So I started professionally I am a practitioner of Chinese medicine. So I graduated from UTS with a Bachelor of Traditional Chinese Medicine and a Bachelor of Arts in International Studies. And I've done internship in other areas as well. Currently I am a Master of Science candidate at UTS. My research is involving Tai Chi and stress. So I've done a bit of Kung Fu in my life. I've pretty much started when I was 5, and I've been doing a lot of different styles and studied a lot of things and been part of different competitions and associations. Okay. And recently I have been published, one of my articles have been published in the Journal of Asian Martial Arts as well. Okay. So let's start. Well, this is a picture of me with the current abbot, Shi Yongxing. This was from memory, I think this was in 2006 or 2007. Okay. Now, Shaolin, well, what actually defines Shaolin? Okay. So how do you define Shaolin martial arts? Well, according to the Chinese Compendium of martial arts and its applications, it says that Shaolin style of martial arts derives from the name Shaolin Temple. And this is because the style draws upon the foundations of the traditional fighting styles taught in Shaolin Temple. So if you look at it that way, by definition, any martial art you learn in Shaolin Temple should be considered Shaolin martial arts, by definition. So what then happens to all the other martial arts who cannot be directly traced back to the temple? Well, that is a bit of a problem. But is this true that everything you practice is no longer Shaolin, or is what you practice just because it was taught by someone who claims to be a Shaolin master, you are practicing Shaolin martial arts? That's a bit of an interesting topic. So today we might actually draw up more questions and actually answer questions. But the idea is just get you to have a think about it and have a look into the debate and the various controversies involving Shaolin Temple. So Shaolin Temple, there are 2 or 3 Shaolin temples depending on how you look at it. In the north, there is the Northern Shaolin Temple in Henan Province, okay, and it's in Dunfeng County and the mountain of Songsang, okay, so Songsang, Shaolin. This is known as the most famous one, and there's also 1 or 2, depending on how you look at it, Shaolin temples in the south as well, South Shaolin. But most texts all agree on the fact that South Shaolin Temple is in Fujian Province, and the prominent one is actually in Quanzhou in Fujian, and its name is actually called, rather than Shaolin Temple itself, it's called Shaolin Zen Temple or Shaolin Changshi. Okay, so here's a picture of the main entrance into Shaolin Temple in Henan. But this Shaolin Temple is actually, well, it's quite modernized now. This is the commercial entrance to Shaolin Temple. After you enter this part, there's a gate where you have to buy a 100 RMB ticket to actually enter the site. And from there you actually see parts of the old Shaolin Temple. Now the name Shaolin, so how did this name actually come about? Well, it came about in the 19th year of the Northern Wei era, which is actually just past the Han Dynasty. So roughly around 495 AD. Now at the time, the emperor at the time, Shao Wendi, he met a monk from Tianzhu, which is modern day South India, and his name was Batuo. So Batuo came to Song Mountain, and he looked at the mountain, and he liked it. So he's like, I would like to have a monastery there. So the mountain, why do you like the mountain? Well, according to some texts, he says that he liked the mountain because he saw some very pretty flowers there. So the concept was to build a temple among the flowers. So with that in mind, he built Shaolin Temple. Now the name itself was because of, there's many different peaks in Shaolin Temple. One of them was Sao Shi, okay? Sao Shi is under Sao. And with nearby Shaolin Temple, there was a bamboo forest. So the word forest is Ling, and the word Sao, from Sao Shi mountain, became together to form Shaolin Temple. Now, according to legend, Shaolin martial arts originated from Bodhidharma, or in Chinese, Bodhidharma. So Bodhidharma or Bodhidharma was also from Tianzhu, okay? He was from South Tianzhu, so South India. So roughly around what we call the Pahlavan dynasty in India. And we do not know when he was born, but we know that he died in 536 from poison. According to the text, he was the 28th generation disciple of Buddha. So he's the 28th disciple, and he roamed around China, and then finally he spent some time in Shaolin Temple. And according to text, it's 527 AD, he went to Shaolin Temple. So after 9 years of meditation, facing the wall, he finally came down. Now the reason why he came down was because of a monk called Huike. Now Huike, according to the story, Huike was one of the disciples there who actually stayed outside the cave, the Damo's cave, for 3 days and 3 nights without food, and keep persisting that Damo would teach him Zen. So it wasn't about martial arts, teaching Zen. Now Damo said, you do not, have the capacity, you're too shallow. One legend says that Damo said that I will only teach you if it snows red, if the snow becomes red. So Huike took a knife and he proceeded to cut his right arm off. Cut his right arm off. So the blood splattered into the air, making all the snow, it was in winter, red. So he had somehow fulfilled Damo's request, and Damo thought there was much wisdom in him and finally took him as a disciple. And then Huike passed on this school of Zen Buddhism onwards to different schools of Zen. Now the cave in which Damo sat in, there was many different legends among that by itself. One legend says that Damo sat in the cave for 9 years without eating or drinking, and he sat there so long that his image has actually been imprinted onto the wall. Now I've been to Damo cave, and I didn't really see it there. All I saw was a little plaque with a little nun actually guarding the cave to make sure no one vandalizes it. Now originally this cave was called Ciyo Cave. Now Ciyo was one of the 3 main tribal leaders during the pre-Shah dynasty in China, which was, we're talking about 3,000-4,000 years ago. Now according to the story, Ciyo was fighting Huangdi and Yendi, so the red and yellow emperor, and he was more known as the barbarian king. So he settled down there, so they named the cave after him. And then after Damo lived there for 9 years, they renamed it Damo Cave. Now, according to the legend with Huike, because he cut off one arm, some legends say that because of that, Shaolin monks only ever bow with one arm. It has a respect to Huike. And Huike became, some consider the second Zen ancestor for Zen Buddhism. So what is Zen Buddhism? Zen Buddhism in Chinese is Chan. Zen Buddhism is a Buddhism religion in China. It's quite unique in that it is a traditionally from Indian Buddhism, however, it incorporates Chinese principles of Taoism and Confucianism to form Zen Buddhism. The emphasis of Zen is that you have a possibility of escaping samsara, which is the endless cycle of life and death and rebirth in this one life rather than over accumulating over many lifetimes and through good deeds and karma. So Zen, how does one attain enlightenment through Zen? Now, originally the idea was that you can only attain Zen through meditation, so which became what we know as the 坐禅, otherwise sitting meditation or meditative Zen. However, that actually became expanded to any repeated activity with the ideal can actually allow the Zen enlightenment to occur. So you have ideas of walking Zen, 行禅, standing Zen, 立禅, and even sleeping Zen, 卧禅, and as well as agricultural Zen, which is more for monks around agricultural areas. And finally, the unique thing with Shaolin Temple is that it incorporated martial arts with Zen. So the common phrase of Shaolin Temple is Zen and martial arts become one. So 常武合一. Okay. Now with that, we have a bit of a question. So I'll just before we go to that, just a quick question. How many people here believe that Dharma or Bodhidharma is the original creator of Shaolin martial arts? Just a quick show of hands.
Well, from what I know, it's the creation of Qi.
Okay.
Qi meditation. But what I know is that in addition to martial arts.
Okay. So no one here actually feels that Dharma is actually the creator of Shaolin martial arts. Okay. Well, the thing is, did Dharma actually teach anything to the Shaolin monks? That was a bit of a question as well. Now, from the text, okay, so was Bodhidharma the creator of Shaolin Kung Fu? Now, it was commonly believed among many people that Bodhidharma created Shaolin Kung Fu. And that if that was the case, then that would mean Kung Fu came from India, which is quite, I guess, in a sense, from the literature, it does not show that in any way. Now, the only sources which actually claim Dharma has any involvement in Shaolin martial arts was actually from a Ming Dynasty text called I Ching Jing. Now, those of you who are familiar with I Ching Jing, can I just get a show of hands who know what I Ching Jing is? I Ching Jing, or Tendon Changing Classic. It is a Shaolin Qigong, which originates, according to the Ming text, from Dharma. It involves a lot of movements which are very similar to yoga, hoping to attain Zen as well as Qi for health benefits. And also the other text actually came from the late Qing dynasty, so we're talking about end of the 19th century, so 1890s, 1880s. There was another text called Shaolin Zongfa. Okay, so Orthodox Shaolin. Now within it, it claimed it supported Dharma as the creator of Luohan Subaso, so the 18 hands of Arhat or Luohan. So we have these two main texts pretty late in the history of Shaolin Temple, which actually claim Dharma was a creator of Shaolin Temple. Shaolin martial arts. So, is that actually true? Well, there was actually another text published later on called Examining Shaolin and Wudang. And this text was written by Tang Hao. Okay. Now, he actually examined both of these texts that claim Dharma's lineage, the Shaolin lineage to Dharma, and he found that I Ching Jing was actually written by a Taoist priest. Taoist priest from the Tian Tai school. Now, the Taoist priest's name was Zheng, and this was actually, I don't actually have it here, but from memory, it was roughly in the early Ming Dynasty, and he created I Ching Jing, and he falsely credited Dharma for it. I think probably partially to give Shaolin martial arts some background as well as to both boost his own reputation in that this text will be read more if it was written by a mythical creator rather than him himself. Now, the 18 hands of Arhat, or Luohan Sibaso, was actually created by Ye Hongmen in late 19th century. So Luohan forms and 18 Luohan hands is then once again discredited. So at this moment we have both evidence of Damo actually creating Shaolin martial arts and I Ching has been discredited at this moment by this text. So if that is the case, where did Shaolin Kung Fu actually come from? Any suggestions?
I heard that because Shaolin Temple is up in the mountains, right? And they trap up the village. A lot of tigers and animals attack people and kill them. So what they did is that they mimic these animals because they're prey, they're predators.
That's one of the stories, but that is actually a lot later on with the mimicking animals. That was not until Ming Dynasty that we actually do have animal copying, mimicking styles of martial arts. Now, you have to understand, with Damo of Shaolin Temple, the original first abbot, his name was Bato. Okay? Now, Bato had two disciples. One of them was a monk called Zheng. Okay, so according to Cao Ye Qianzai, it says this: 拔陀弟子曾曹，幼若发为沙弥，10倍甚重，每休假长脚力，甚着为喜。So Bato's disciple, Zheng, when he was young, very young, he already shaved his head and became a Sami. Now, Sami in Shaolin or Buddhist tradition is a young monk. And because of that, his generation is actually greater than the majority of the monks there. And every time he had a break in his leisure activity, he would actually go and fight people. So, 脚力 in ancient Chinese actually means empty-handed boxing. So he would fight and he would win and he would make it sort of a game to beat people. Okay, in martial arts, this is one of Bato's students. Of his abilities, it says this: 横塔必行. So he was able to run along the walls, or walk along the walls, depending on how you translate it, horizontally. So parallel to the ground, he was able to run like this along the walls. Other than that, he also said that 要手执于梁. So he was able to jump over people's heads to reach as high as the beams support beams. And also, he was about his strength. He said this: 引众千军，起拳结小无尽. So it means that he was able to lift 1,000 jun. So what is a jun? Jun in ancient Chinese, weight measurement. 1 jun is equivalent to 30 jin. Now that doesn't really mean much if you put in context. 1 jin is equivalent to around 1 pound. So 30 jin is roughly 15 kilos. So this is a bit exaggerated, but the idea is that he was able to lift a huge amount of weight. Okay? And his fist was very fast and very nimble when he moved, and he was full of courage and martial strength. So here we have one of Bato's disciples already showing signs that he actually has martial ability. And this was before Damo. Okay. So where did Zheng actually get his martial arts from? Well, according to the biography of great monks, Zheng originally became a monk in Jingming Temple in Julu under the discipleship of an abbot called Zhi, okay? And then later on, he went to Shaolin Temple and came under Bato. Now, if you look at it that way, it's actually, Bato's era was in around 495 AD. Bodhidharma came to Shaolin Temple 527 AD. This is roughly 32 years after. During which time, even if you consider the fact that he was meditating, he would have been meditating for 9 years in the temple. He wouldn't have come down and actually taught him martial arts then. So most texts now state that Shaolin martial arts came from 2 monks, 2 of Bato's disciples. One was Hui Guan and the other was Sun Cong. Okay? Now, it was said that Batuo loved Chinese martial arts. He was Indian, but he loved Chinese martial arts, and he would often accept disciples with martial skills. Now, Hui Guan, we didn't talk about much. Hui Guan was, when he was younger, Chinese kids used to kick a thing like a shuttlecock with their feet. And often you kick a few times in the front of your body. According to legend, Batuo saw Hui Guan kicking the shuttlecock behind his back with his foot 500 times. Batuo saw that this child had great determination and a lot of talent. So he took him under his wing and he became a disciple of Shaolin Temple. Now these two monks have been credited by the literature as the founders of Shaolin martial arts. So here's the thing, why would people with martial skill actually go to Shaolin Temple? You have to understand the context. The context is that during the time of China, feudal China, it is actually a very rough place. Now, Shaolin Temple, because it is quite rough, a lot of people go to Shaolin Temple to become monks to escape incarceration by the government, who were often corrupt at the time, or they were criminals themselves who had martial ability, who hid in the temple as monks, and then passed down the martial arts onwards. Now, here's the saying. Okay, the saying goes, 天下功夫出少林，少林功夫甲天下. So all martial arts under heaven originate from Shaolin Temple. And Shaolin martial arts is the greatest under heaven. Now this has been interpreted in a different way. Modern revised version of this is 天下武术出少林，少林武术甲天下. It doesn't really make a lot of difference. The only difference is the difference between wushu and kung fu. Now this will be a result of Maoist during the Chairman Mao's era, which he tried to distinguish Kung Fu from Wushu, in that Kung Fu is a bit too practical and he feared rebellion from the people against the Communist Party, so he decided to separate Kung Fu into two sections, a performance aspect and a martial aspect, actual sparring practical aspect. And oftentimes modern society refers to the performance aspect as Wushu. Okay. So why did Shaolin Temple develop a martial tradition? Well, let's have a look at Shaolin Temple. You have a temple in the middle of a mountain surrounded by forests, animals, and bandits. So Shaolin Temple was often attacked, and if you look at it, it is a building fairly rich looking in the midst of nothing. So a lot of people actually thought Shaolin Temple would be a great source of money, considering most Buddhas those days were made of bronze or gold. So if you melt down a Buddha, you can probably make a lot of money. So a lot of people actually attacked Shaolin Temple. So Shaolin Temple had to develop martial arts to defend themselves. Okay. Now, against the popular legend and belief in those movies, Shaw Brother movies, that Shaolin Temple was always supportive of anti-government movements. Well, that's not really the case, in that if you have a look at the times where Shaolin Temple was actually attacked. Now, it was attacked in the late Sui dynasty by bandits. Now, this might be purely because for money. Now, late Sui dynasty was actually a very rough time, in that you have the end of the Sui dynasty and you have a lot of chaos with a lot of dukes and local warlords trying to be emperor. So Shaolin Temple was a source of food, so it was a very prime target. The end of the Yuan dynasty was also attacked by the Red Turban rebel army. Now, because of that, if you think about it, during the Yuan dynasty China was actually ruled by the Mongols. Now the Mongols were actually very devout Buddhists. So Shaolin Temple had a very high standing during the Yuan dynasty. So obviously Shaolin Temple becomes a target for any activists who were against the Yuan dynasty. And later in the late Ming dynasty was also attacked during a rebel uprising. Okay. Now it was not until roughly 1505 to between 1505 and 1521 AD. We're not exactly sure the time, but during the reign of Zheng of the Ming dynasty, that Shaolin Kung Fu became famous and people started knowing about Shaolin Kung Fu. So when you look at the time when Shaolin Temple was actually built in 495 to 15, so it took roughly 1,000 years before Shaolin Kung Fu became recognized for what it's actually good for. Okay. So what are the requirements for Shaolin martial arts? Well, the forms itself tend to have certain requirements. The requirements are this. 少林的套路一般都较小，运动路线多呈直线往返。So what does it mean? Shaolin forms tend to be small in frame, and movement flow backwards and forth in a straight line. Now this is what traditional Shaolin Kung Fu should look like, which is a bit different to what you see in those Shaolin performances. So first we understand, the forms itself, fairly small movements, fairly straight, nothing fancy. What about requirements for the actual movements themselves? Well, Shaolin, it says that 少林拳的动作姿势要求头端面正 head straight, facing forwards. Okay? 眼注一点 so eyes focused on one point. 顾上下左右 focused on one point, but also make sure you can observe left, right, top and bottom. 颈肩不偏随身变转 so neck is straight and solid and stable, but turns with the body. 开胸直腰 so opening up the chest and having a straight back. 不能松塔 so do not relax. Go up to here. 里胯合膝 Okay, now this is the biggest difference between what we now know as Shaolin Kung Fu and traditional Shaolin Kung Fu. 里胯 so hips forming inwards, and same with the knees, slightly inwards. Now, which is a bit different, okay, to what we know as modern martial arts, where we have very extravagant big stances. Okay, 微扣脚尖 so feet slightly inwards. Okay, 不能撑打开膝外摆 do not expose the pelvis, the groin area, and keep or let your knees face outwards. Same with your feet. Your feet must not face outwards. Okay? 肩不要松 shoulders do not relax. 手臂击出要屈而不屈 This is a very complicated part. So in terms of punching, when the hand goes out, the hand must be bent, but not bent. 直而不直 straight, but not straight. So why would they have a saying which goes, when you punch, be bent but not bent, be straight but not straight? Well, it's for this, okay? The reason for that is up here. It says, 以便取防时，含有功意，指攻时，含有手艺. So when you attack, when you defend with a bent, you can be straightened out fast enough that you can also attack while you defend. And when you attack, you can also defend at the same time. So that's a requirement here. So have that in English. Okay? For those of you who didn't really like the huge chunk of Chinese.
Can you show us that stance?
Oh, this is not a stance. This is for all movements. Okay? Okay, I'll show you in a second. Okay? Now, footwork. Now, I'll talk about the footwork as well, and then we can show you what I mean. Okay? Okay. So footwork, it says footwork and body work. 身法主重控制重心 So control your center of balance, your weight when you move. 动者轻灵 When you move, be light and agile. 静者沉稳 Okay, when you stop, be still, stable, and firm. Okay, about footwork. 步架要求进步低 So when you move forwards, your stance should be low. 退步高 Okay, when you retreat, move high. 动作整体表现为全身上下内外协调一致 So the purpose is that altogether your inside, internal, external, your entire up and bottom of your body, very coordinated. So what does that actually mean? So how does this traditional Shaolin definition compared to, say, a modern version of Shaolin? Well, I'll show you a demonstration using Xiao Hong Quan, one of the Shaolin forms. Okay. First, I'll show you a modern adaptation versus the traditional version of the stance requirements. Okay. Xiao Hong Quan is one of the more simplified Shaolin forms. Now, whether its origins actually come from Shaolin itself or traditional Shaolin, that's a different story. But we'll use this as an example. Okay? So a modern equivalent of this movement will be this. So see if you can spot the areas. Okay? So we start off with this ritual stance. So this is a modern adaptation. Now the errors of this, if you compare it to traditional stance, well, first error, footwork, very big footwork. Traditional Shaolin, footwork should be like this in terms of Kung Fu. Moving forwards is low. Okay? So if we do it, traditional fight will be more like this. So moving forwards, those hands. Fairly higher stance, and the footwork tends to be inwards rather than big open stances. Now, the reason for this, and get a volunteer. Okay, so we'll talk about some explanation of Shaolin, for example. Okay, Shaolin, one of the first few moves is hitting, pulling back, and hitting again. This move is quite simple. First one, the hitting is very small. If we hit him, okay? But why do we do this movement here? Okay, so if we hit him, so we'll make it like it hits fast. Okay? Take a punch. Yeah. We can use this hand to both hit and block. The reason we use this movement back here is one, if we do block, we can grab under here. As we go under here, this hand pulls. This hand downwards at the elbow, and we pull. Okay? Okay? Okay, it's not finished though. So you punch, 1, 2, pull down. This hand here is the face, and hit again with this hand. Okay, so overall it should look like this. Okay? But if you break it down, just that one single movement, then you come again. Without using the first hit, you just reach here. He's here. This is a moving away movement. Avoiding the opponent. So he comes, ducking. One move in, low. Low, hit. Outwards. Okay? If you use leg as well, it can be like this. So if you hit me, okay. This can be used as a block. Okay? So he comes, up, blocking. Okay? Now, also same here. If he uses this hand to block his kick, he can also do that as well. So if he comes in, this is a pull here. This is a bit more complicated. You can pull back here. As you pull back here, as this hits down, you can break his leg. But if you don't, you can just hit it behind the knee here. Cause him to come down. Okay. Now, if he punches again, punch here. If I use my leg from this position here, I can kick him here or here. Okay, so and hit. And again. 1, 2, and 1, 2. Following this, move forwards. So that's why the movement of moving forwards. This is the very first move of Shaolin. Okay? So another example here, where we have closer fighting. If someone punches, we can use this hand to block. And this hand straight down here. Okay? So this hand downwards is this motion here. So up here, you turn here, roll. Okay? Causing this arm to be locked. Okay? So from here, you can go downwards and bend this here. So that's just the first move of Xiao Hong Shuai. Okay. Now, we talked a lot about punching. These requirements actually don't mention anything about kicking. Why is that Shaolin Kung Fu doesn't actually mention much about kicking? Well, because traditional Shaolin Kung Fu didn't really have any kicks. Okay? Now, Shaolin Kung Fu, the trick is, with the main theme with Shaolin Kung Fu is fists punched in a straight line. No mention about kicking. Because this Shaolin Kung Fu originally did not have any kicks until one of the Shaolin abbots met up with the creator of Tan Tui, or spring kicks. Okay? So when he met up with spring kicks, he saw how practical the kicking was, and they started exchanging ideas. And from this day forth, Shaolin martial arts, most of the kicks are based from Tan Tui. And vice versa, Tan Tui started incorporating Shaolin punches. So that's why a lot of Shaolin kicks tend to be very low, straight, and very flick-like. Whereas Tan Tui punches tend to be also in a straight line, and very similar to Shaolin. Now, Tan Tui itself is a very interesting story. Now, the story about Tan Tui is that it was originally invented by a general who, after the war, decided to settle down, and he developed a series of kicking movements. And he settled down in a place near a temple named Dragon Lagoon, roughly translated as Dragon Lagoon. And from there, he's just stayed in a temple and practiced Tan Tui. Now, after Tan Tui spread to Shaolin, Shaolin martial arts then started influencing other forms of martial arts. So you have Ta Chuan has Tan Tui as basic kicking. Ta Chuan, Hua Chuan, Cuo Jiao, Fan Zi. Majority of northern martial arts, the kicking is based on Tan Tui. Because of this, and hence a lot of punches, that's why Shaolin punches became the most famous in the world, because it is also spread to Tan Tui, and also from there, a lot of martial arts have been influenced by Shaolin. So we can see even just from the spread of Tan Tui, if Tan Tui was spread from Shaolin, then Shaolin punches also can spread to other places as well, other forms of martial arts. This including both North and Southern Shaolin as well. Now, let's have a look at schools of Shaolin martial arts. Now, if you believe that Shaolin is just Shaolin by itself, then that's oversimplifying things. Now, this is from Wan Lai Sen. I'm not sure if anyone here is familiar with Wan Lai Sen. Wan Lai Sen was a practitioner of Northern Shaolin martial arts of Liu Hemeng, and then he went south to Fujian province, where he also incorporated Ziranen into his repertoire, and from there onwards, his style of martial arts known as Liu He Ziranen. Okay? Now in it he says this, 少林总分南北两派. So Shaolin is roughly split into North and South Shaolin. 北派以河南嵩山少林寺为正宗. Because North Shaolin is the most orthodox, because it's the original, and that's why we consider that as the orthodox, because it's the original Shaolin temple. Okay, 因其寄居基特点的各不同，不如相同，而分别为 Hong, Kong, Yu Sanjia. So from there are three distinct schools or families of martial arts from Shaolin, Northern Shaolin. They are Hong, Kong, and Yu, two families. So of the three families, Hong style of martial arts, Hongjia Shaolin Zhu Gang focuses on more Gang, so hard style of martial arts. Okay, Kongjia Shaolin Zhu Rou, Kong family specializes in softer Shaolin martial arts. Yujia Shaolin Zhe Jian Gang Rou Yong Zhi. So Yu family uses both soft and hard aspects of Shaolin martial arts and uses them. However, 而以洪家少林优能 体现少林拳主刚硬的总体武术风格。So you can still maintain the red family, the Hong family's style of hard or aggressive style of Shaolin martial arts. Okay, but however, it's also formed in a different way. Okay, it also can be distinguished, classified into 4 schools. Okay, so 又有四大门之说，分为 so the 4 schools are 大圣门、罗汉门、二郎门 and 韦陀门。Okay, so the 4 schools. 六合门即属是4大门派中的韦陀。So 六合 the one is in practice. 六合门 is considered one of the 4 schools known as 韦陀。So we can see that Shaolin Temple, Shaolin martial arts, has a lot of different branches. So you cannot just no longer just say Shaolin martial arts is any martial arts coming from Shaolin Temple, because you have all these schools. So how do martial arts from Shaolin Temple branch out into all these different schools? What? How do you think it branched out? Well, majority of the reason is because Shaolin Temple accepts students, and these students originally had some martial background to begin with, and then afterwards, after they quit being a monk or quit Shaolin Temple, they go back into the normal secular life, in which they teach students and it goes passed on. And at the same time, don't forget that you also have the influence of the Chinese Communist Party in 1949. So during that era, Shaolin Temple, and also Shaolin Temple itself, and as well as martial arts, was forbidden from being practiced on the whole. So you have a lot of secret martial arts schools that form from that. Okay, so from that we have all these styles from Shaolin exiting Shaolin. So if martial arts styles are exiting Shaolin and influencing other styles as well, what is stopping other styles from entering Shaolin or returning to Shaolin? The reason for that, I bring this up, is that in the 1960s, there was only 1 or 2 monks left in Shaolin Temple, true monks. And the thing is, they knew no martial arts whatsoever. They were known as the scholarly monks, or the ones who just prayed and meditated all day. They knew no martial arts. So how did Shaolin Temple get all its martial arts back? Where did all these martial arts come from? If Shaolin Temple had no monks which actually knew Kung Fu at the time. So I'm going to let you guys take a break, and I'll leave you on this thought to think about. Any questions while we pause? Have a 10-minute break? Yeah?
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, sure.
Would you mind showing me the kick again, the front kick?
Oh, the high front kick?
Yes, the high one.
Okay.
That you did in the kata.
Yeah, okay. That one is from Shao Hongshan. This is from the one you do at Shaolin Temple. So this one here, coming back to this movement here, up, opening the arms up, and then close.
So you're predominantly using the hip joint.
Hip drop. This is a straight up kick. This is not a push kick.
So is that an exhibition kick or realistic kick?
We're going to the reason for this form.
Okay.
The reason for that is actually quite interesting. Realistically, it is an actual kick used for fighting. However, oftentimes with martial arts forms is that a lot of the moves are hidden. The reason for the moves are actually hidden within the form itself. As to why you use the move, you don't actually know. It's the principle with the karate kick. Wax on, wax off. You have no idea what you're doing, why you're doing it, until finally it's been explained to you and you've already mastered the technique. Now the reason for this kick in particular, from my experience of what it can actually do, is majority a kick to the chin, if you can use it. But oftentimes you don't forget, a lot of Shaolin monks train hard Kung Fu, harding the toes. So the idea is, if you can kick high, you can also kick low. So I believe this kick originates a bit from the Tan Tui principles of actually just straight up. But rather than actually aiming for someone's head, in the practice you do that. However, when you actually do use it, you might just use your toe, perhaps, just to kick into someone's groin. Yeah. Oftentimes you can always say it's a variation of an axe kick when it comes down as well. But then again, this is very hard to scale because no one really knows at the moment.
I seem to think, well, because I do research in motion and structure analysis, I find that this kicks starting from the hip. A slow joint is being used.
Mm-hmm.
A faster joint would be the knee or the ankle. So same as the arms, you know. So when a person strikes like this, or in the Lama style in Tibet, they do a similar thing like white crane, but they hit this way with a hook punch. And if that was for real and they use a shoulder joint, they're in trouble already.
Exactly.
Because there's no leverage and they're using a slow joint. So that means the power and speed have been compromised, speaking scientifically.
Yeah, of course.
So can you explain?
Okay. The reason for that, I think it is not necessarily a kick for actual practical purpose. I think this is more of a stretch, in my opinion, for this kick. Because in my personal experience, I would never actually use a kick like that. Because just, for one, the speed-wise, it's slow. And two, you cannot generate power. There's no point in which you can actually kick someone and there is enough power as well. So I believe partially it's because of that. But partially is also because when I talk about next, about what is actually considered real Shaolin Kung Fu, whether or not this is for purposes of actual practical use, or is it for show later on because of what's happened to Shaolin Temple now. So I'll talk a bit about that later on. No, thank you. Any questions? Okay. So where we left off, we talked about, so how did Shaolin Kung Fu come back to Shaolin? Okay. Well, what do we know about existing forms in Shaolin? Oh, let's have a look at that, okay? So these are some of the forms which is being stated to be belonging to Shaolin, in particular Shaolin temple forms. Okay, so you have Xiao Hong Quan, which I demonstrated a little bit over there. Da Hong Quan, Lao Hong Quan, Luo Han Quan, Zhao Yang Quan, Mei Hua Quan, Pao Quan, Qi Xing Quan, Rou Quan, and Xing Yi Ba, which is actually not actually a form itself, but 12 separate movements. So when you have a look at all these different styles, how did all these temple styles come back to Shaolin Temple when there was actually no monks practicing martial arts? Well, we talked about before about the various schools and how certain martial artists actually take martial arts from Shaolin out. But at the same time, martial arts are often invited by Shaolin back into the temple. Now the saying goes, 天下功夫出少林. Okay, so all martial arts originate from Shaolin. In an essence, partially that is true, because partially a lot of martial arts are influenced by Shaolin. But the main thing you have to understand is that not only does the Kung Fu of the world under heaven come from Shaolin, but Shaolin is like a giant filter. Everything goes back into Shaolin as well, and it gets filtered in the process. And that a lot of martial arts are reabsorbed back into Shaolin, or martial arts learn something and then they take it into Shaolin Temple. So as I explained, a lot of people who enter Shaolin Temple to become monks do so not because they want to. And because of that, they carry certain skills with them. Well, for example, we have Luo Han Quan. Well, we talked about Luo Han Sibaso. Luo Han Quan is very similar in that supposedly it was invented by Damo, but we don't know that. So this is a mystery in itself. Okay? So where did this martial art come from if it didn't come from Damo? Well, we know that Luo Han Sibaso, or the 18 hands of Luo Han, came from a man called Ye Hongmen, and then he said it was Shaolin Kung Fu. So we already have a case of falsely accrediting Shaolin Temple. So could this Luo Han Quan be another example? Okay. Another example is Pao Quan. Pao Quan is sometimes referred to as Shaolin Can Quan, or long fist. Okay. Now, it was actually in the book known as Shaolin Temple, or the Manual of Shaolin Martial Arts, it said that this form was invented or created by the Shaolin abbot Fu Ju, when he had a look, study all different types of martial arts, and finally synthesized it into form this Shaolin Paoquan or Canquan. So here's the question: where did he get these martial arts from? What martial arts did he synthesize? Why is it not written? Is he actually synthesizing Shaolin forms? We don't know. All we know is that he did synthesize, so there is evidence that Shaolin is actually learning martial arts from the outside and bringing it back in. Now, here's an example. We have Xin Yi Ba, Shaolin Xin Yi Ba. Now, Shaolin Xin Yi Ba, there's a saying about it. It says this: 宁传10套拳，不传148. Now, Xin Yi Ba is 12 individual movements. Now, what it's saying is, we are more willing to teach you 10 forms than to teach you one move from the Xin Yi Ba. So, as you can see, Shaolin Temple values the Xin Yi Ba very highly. At this moment, the sole, successor of the Xin Yi Ba tradition is this monk here, called Shi Dejian. Now, Dejian is actually he actually learned his martial arts outside Shaolin Temple. He belongs to a special school of Shaolin known as the Cangwu, so the Zen martial doctors. So he's a medical practitioner. Now, he originally learned his martial arts from his master outside Shaolin Temple. His master told him this: at the requirement of learning this, you must promise me one thing. After you have mastered this, you must take Xin Yi Ba and take it back to Shaolin Temple. So take it back to Shaolin Temple. So once again, this is something might have been removed from Shaolin Temple, but coming back to Shaolin Temple. Okay. So where does Xin Yi Ba actually come from? Okay. One version. This is what the monks in the temple believe. It is known as shovel and hoe style martial arts. Why? Because it was developed through thousands of years of working the ground to develop this high-level martial art. So movements like we saw a video before. So if I show you roughly movements of pulling carrots and turnips out of the ground, develop this Xin Yi Ba. Personally, I've never practiced Xin Yi Ba, but I can show you what it roughly looks like. Okay? Okay, I will just show you some of the movements, okay? But not all of them. Okay. So one of the first movements is a shovel, and it's actually digging something, this sort of movement. So you have sort of movements like this, okay? Like this. This sort of movement. Pivoting. So this movement then becomes a hitting movement. Okay, so this sort of pivoting movement here. And also pulling things from the ground. This sort of movement, pulling a radish or turnip from the ground. So when it's actually used, it becomes a hitting movement. So as you're coming down, you pull and then you hit, pull down to hit. Okay? So this is Xin Yi Ba, some of the movements. It's fairly simple. The movements, the first stance is actually says opening stance. So we'll just paint it. Next stance is left and right stance. So it's left and right stance. Up and down stance. And you have movements where you have pulling here and then pulling this way, and then all of a sudden these sort of movements in there. So it's fairly simple, not many complexities. But it has become from this sort of movement, working the ground, working the field, develop a sort of martial arts both to help yourself as for health, as well as for martial purposes. Now this is one theory. This is what the Shaolin monks would tell you. However, we come back here, there's another theory. The other theory is that Xin Yi Ba is actually very similar, might have been from the same ancestor as Xin Yi Liu He Men. Now, Xin Yi Liu He Men is a martial arts practiced by Chinese Muslims. It's a very close-kept secret, and the emphasis of this style is very sudden movements, a lot of body strikes, headbutting as well, and a lot of internal and external movements. Now the reason a lot of people believe Xin Yi Ba is the same as Xin Yi Liu He Men is because in the manual, manual of ancient secret Shaolin boxing, so which actually is a bit of a contradiction in itself, in that if it's secret, why publish a book about it? It says this, so Shaolin Gu Chuan Mi Ben Quan Bu, it says this, the 10 principles of Xin Yi Ba, the 10 concepts, the main concepts, was published in chapter 1 of the book, known as the 10 Laws. These principles are almost identical, very, very similar to another book published during the Yongzheng era, so Qing Dynasty era. This book is called Xin Yi Liu He Manual. Now, in the 9th chapter of Xin Yi Liu He Manual, there's a chapter called the 10 requirements of rules of Liu He boxing. And in it, it's practically almost identical, the full concepts behind it. So can we actually say that, did this style really originate from years of toil in the field, or is it maybe just an excuse because it's actually from Xin Yi Liu He Men? We don't really know. And I think for political reasons, I do not want to make a claim that it is or it isn't. But we'll just let you be the judge of that. Okay? So other than Xin Yi Ba, we have Xiang Xing Quan. So Xiang Xing Quan. So Xiang Xing Quan, known as like mimicking or copying styles of martial arts, copying different styles. Okay? So according to the essentials of the 5 animal fist, okay, Wu Quan Jing Yao, Xiang Xing Quan was invented by the Zen master Qiu Ye in 900 AD. Now Xiang Xing Quan is mimicking mostly animals, but it can mimic anything or a type of person or anything else, but it's using the principles of movement and ideology behind it to use it as a form of martial arts. Now the main ones you have in Shaolin Temple, or they claimed it belongs to Shaolin Temple, you have Shaolin Wu Quan, okay, the 5 animals. Now the 5 animals in North and South Shaolin are very different. In Northern Shaolin they are considered dragon, tiger, leopard, crane and snake. In the Southern tradition, dragon is no longer there, but it is replaced by monkey. The reasoning behind that is no one's actually ever seen a dragon, so we can't really copy the dragon. Okay? Now, other styles which say accredited to Shaolin, like Xiang Xing Quan, you have mantis, monkey, eagle, dog, and drunken. Now, here's a bit of a dilemma, I guess, in that when you actually look at the history of some of these styles, they have nothing to do with Shaolin Temple. Mantis, there's different styles of mantis, but majority of people, they accredit mantis-style martial arts to the Qing Dynasty. Okay? By a man whose last name is Wang, okay? And interesting enough, the most famous mantis practitioners are actually from Shandong province in the north of China, not from Shaolin Temple. But interesting enough, if you look at the form that Shaolin Temple actually practiced for mantis, it's actually a very similar form, actually almost identical, to the one practiced by Yu Hai. Yu Hai is a martial arts practitioner who practices Mei Hua mantis. Now, he was the actor who played Jet Li's master in the original Shaolin Temple movie. So what actually happened was he practiced mantis, and Shaolin Temple decided to reabsorb that mantis style back into Shaolin Temple. So the Shaolin standard mantis fist is actually the one practiced by Yu Hai, which in reality is Mei Hua mantis. Okay? Monkey fist. Well, monkey fist, there's not much you can say about that. You can say it's true, you can say it's not true. The majority of texts say that it's very hard to pinpoint monkey fist to any particular any particular school, because Omei school also has monkey fist, Wudang also has monkey fist, and some traditions always have monkey fist. Okay? Not to mention Tongbi and Pigua has essences of monkey style in it. Eagle claw, well, eagle claw, yes and no. The eagle claw, it's not that big of an issue. Dog is a bit of a dilemma because dog style does not actually exist in northern Shaolin. It exists in southern Shaolin. Dog style is famous in Fujian province. However, you can see certain Shaolin videos or certain Shaolin performances which they do dog style as well as, say, frog style as well. Dog style in particular is very unique to Fujian province. So how did that style end up in Henan province, which is quite a bit north of Fujian? Is a bit of a question. And drunken style. Well, after consulting the text called 实用少林醉拳, okay, so practical Shaolin drunken fist, there's nowhere in that book where it actually printed Shaolin drunken Kung Fu actually came anywhere from Shaolin. But you can say that Shaolin did absorb certain aspects and made their own Shaolin drunken fist. But in that again, it's very much a contradiction. In quite often in Shaolin temple and most Buddhist temples, you are not allowed to actually drink. So how do you develop a drunken style when you don't drink? Tiger trains the bones, 抱拳练力, leopard trains power, 蛇拳练气, snake trains qi, 鹤拳练精, and crane trains your jing, your essence. 五拳学之能精者身健气壮, 手灵足稳, 眼锐胆壮. So after training these 5 animals, you will become very strong and stable. Your chi will be quite strong. Your hands will be nimble. Your feet will be firm. Your eyes will become sharp, and you'll become a lot braver. Now, I've actually demonstrated a bit of this in my previous talk, but if anyone has any questions towards the end about it, I can go through it again. I do have a lot more to go through. Okay? So another aspect of Shaolin is not just in fists, but also in staff, Shaolin staff. So all we have is Shaolin staff. Now, Shaolin is actually quite famous for its stick or staff. Okay? Now, according to the Ming text, Shaolin staff are explained, or Shaolin Gunfa Canzong, it says this. The creator of Shaolin staff was a kitchen monk called Juna Luo Wan, or Juna Luo, okay? Now, according to the story, during one of the bandit attacks of Shaolin temples, he actually took a broom or a mop or something with a stick to it. He broke the tip off, just had a stick, and he chased the bandits out with a stick. So he actually became one of the guardian spirits at Shaolin Temple. So even nowadays, the guardian spirit of Shaolin Temple and the master of staff is known as Na Luo Wan, Ju Na Luo Wan. Okay? So he's known as this. Now, this was not until the Ming Dynasty, okay? So Ming and Yuan dynasties, this was looking at around 800 to 900 years after the founding of Shaolin Temple, which creates a bit of a conflict when we look at the 13 monks who saved the Tang Emperor, which we'll talk about next. Maybe not next, but in a few slides. Okay, so what makes Shaolin staff very famous? Well, the reason for that is because it integrates both staff and spear. Now, previously, spear was limited to the realms of warfare, military warfare. Very simple, pretty much nan-na-za for stabbing, blocking, simple long-distance fighting. Whereas staff is designed for more hitting a lot of people at once. So the popular saying is 枪桥一条线，棍少一大片. So it means that the spear, when it's thrust forwards, it goes in a straight line. Whereas the staff, when it sweeps, it clears a huge path for the practitioner. Okay? The reason why Shaolin staff actually became popular yet again is because of its versatility and its convenience in actually carrying it. Despite what you see in the films, people in a lawful society do not walk around carrying weapons. The local authorities were not like that. So what the monks would do carry sticks because it's technically not a weapon. The reason for that is, yet again, is because they often have to come down from the mountain to get food via charity from the locals. So they'll walk down. So they carry a stick partially to defend against animals, protect themselves, as well as to act as a walking stick. So this has become a very good hidden weapon. And that is only a walking stick, but in the end it can become a lethal weapon. Now, interesting enough, a lot of people believe that Shaolin monks often walk around with a spade, or the crescent moon spades and sort of thing. Now, that tradition is shared in a lot of monastic traditions, such as Taoists as well as monks. The reason for that is oftentimes they would actually perform like a handyman for the locals in appreciation for any food or money they were donate to them. So the shovel would often act as a shovel, actually an actual shovel for shoveling, digging things, helping them carry things as well. So that's there. Now, what does it mean by the fact that I have a stick here, but I don't think we have that much of a room to actually show you what the Shaolin staff looks like. But the idea is this: I'll just show you some basic spear movements and stick movements. Okay. Okay. So basic Shaolin stick movements. Okay. Most Shaolin sticks, they always start off with one hand, just the bowing. Okay. Often Shaolin forms start off with a kicking of the stick from back. Okay. Some traditions will kick forwards. By kicking forwards, the stick comes up into the hip to the groin, and also allows convenience for grabbing this hand to come down. Okay? So it's like that. So one, kick, come down. From here, there's a lot of variety in what you can do from hitting downwards. You can slide it up, hitting upwards, across, and also around the hip as well. Okay? Now, another form of Shaolin staff, which is quite famous, is called Yin So Gun. Now, that's quite different because it doesn't hold the stick like this, but rather, the first move in the form is actually flipped around. The reason Yin So Gun actually flips the stick around is because when you actually hold the stick like this, you are limited, you can only do this sort of movement. When you do this movement here, it allows you to actually block. So when someone actually hits you from the top, you can kick the stick upwards, for example, to block from the top, okay? Or, if facing this way, turn, hitting down, and become a stabbing movement, which is very famous with Shaolin staff. So Yin So Gun starts off like this, okay? Kicks, turn, stab, turn. This sort of movements. Now, whether or not this is a modern style of Shaolin staff, that's debatable. We don't really know. Now, another thing with Shaolin staff is the spear aspect. Now, majority of spear movements work in this way. They're very simple. Nan, la, za. Nan is outwards rotation. Za is nan, la is inward rotation. And za is straight. So a spear should move in a straight line. Okay, either moving forward and backwards. And then so forth. So Shaolin incorporates both big swinging movements, which I can't really do here, with the straight thrusting of spear. One example, I think the most well-known example, is actually Yin So Gun, where he has a stance where he goes pa pa pa. Like this. I'll come around this way. Be more room. This movement is followed by stabbing movement, thrusting with the spear. Okay? So, spear, the use of the spear and as a stick, works in a way that once we stab and we see it for distance, when we get closer, we can turn and use it as a stick to hit, across, legs, turn, and hitting again. So this is one of the basic concepts behind Shaolin style, the spear and the stick. Ideally, however, the best one is actually swing across this way, which I can actually do here. Okay? Now, back to the actual functionality of Shaolin style. We have to look at during the Ming Dynasty. During the Ming Dynasty, there was a very famous general called Yu Dayo. Now, he was famous for fighting against Japanese pirates during the 16th century. So during the year 1562, he actually went to Shaolin Temple. Now, he studied a type of staff form called Jianjing, otherwise known as the long sword. So his staff sounds nothing like a staff form. It sounds more like a sword. From legend, it was said that this was actually an imperial staff, originally developed in Shaolin Temple, and then came down to Taizhu style of martial arts, and then when it got to him, it just became known as Jianjing. Okay? It's often referred to the sword because of the using of a staff, eyebrow height, so known as the eyebrow staff, or qi mei guan, using it for long distance and also two-handed strikes. Now, Yu Dayo was from Fujian province, so he's from south. So he has more of a southern tradition. During the time, in 1562, he went to Shaolin Temple. He went to northern Shaolin Temple to have a visit of the monks and to trace his lineage back to Shaolin Temple. Now, when he watched the Shaolin monks actually perform Shaolin staff, he was actually dismayed. He said that the monks have lost what those in the past have taught, what the true essence of Shaolin staff has. So here's an example of Shaolin reabsorbing back martial arts which was lost. The Shaolin abbot sent 2 of his monks to follow Yu Dayo around fighting the Japanese to relearn the martial arts, the staff martial arts, from actual combat practical situations. So after around 2 years of following this general around, they finally went back to the temple and retaught this staff back to Shaolin Temple to make it more practical. Okay. So here's another legend which was roughly around 900 years prior. Yu Dayo retaught Shaolin staff to Shaolin Temple. Now during this time, in 620 AD, it was the end of the Sui dynasty. And at this time, it was quite chaotic, and you have a lot of warlords going around. One of the warlords was Wang Sicong, and his main rival was a man called Li Yuan. Now, Li Yuan was from Taiyuan, and Wang Sicong mainly was in Luoyang. So, Luoyang is in Henan province, quite close to Shaolin Temple. Now, Wang Sicong was not a very nice man, and he did a lot of unspeakable things. Also, his nephew was there as well. Wan Renze was also not a very nice man, and he did quite a lot of unspeakable immoral things. So there was a war between the 2 of them. So one of the legends, it goes that the 13 monks saved the prince of Qin, Qinwan. Okay, now Qin is a name given to Li Siming, Li Yuan's son. So what happened was one of the legends goes that Li Siming was actually captured when he was scouting what Wang Sicong was actually doing, and he was captured. The Shaolin monks heard of this, so their leader, Hui Yang, okay, followed with another 12 monks, so in total the 13 monks, went and rescued him. And at the same time, they managed to capture Wang Sicong alive, and also his nephew, Wan Renze. Now, this is actually the plot for Shaolin Temple, the movie, with Jet Li. In that case, Jet Li will play one of the 13 monks, and Li Siming is actually in it. So the main bad guy in that movie was actually Wan Renze, the nephew, rather than Wang Sicong. I guess there's some poetic license in there. This is one belief that the 13 monks managed to go through a guarded army, through an army of what will be modest and say 1,000 people, and saved a prisoner whilst capturing their 2 leaders, which does not seem very feasible, no matter how good your martial arts is. I don't think 1 to 100 is a very fair odds for Shaolin monks. The other story, the other version of this is actually the monks, because they lived nearby, they've seen what Wan Renzhe or Wan Sicong have done, and they were not happy about it. They saw how bad it was, and they decided to do something about it. So they launched a preemptive strike to ambush Wan Sicong or Wan Renzhe, and by ambushing them, they managed to capture them alive and then bringing them to Li Siming for ransom. Well, not so much ransom as a reward. They didn't actually want a reward because the monks, but they just give it to Li Siming, and that helped Li Siming a lot, because that practically ended the war, because they had captured the leader of the opposition. Now, that's a bit of a dispute whether or not 13 monks attacked an entire camp of soldiers and rescued someone out, was capturing 2 people, or they ambushed a traveling troop of small squad. I think the ambush sounds a bit more feasible than actually attacking an entire army. But regardless of which story, the conclusion is very similar, in that after Li Siming became the emperor, he decided to reward the monks with various titles and land and property. Property including robes which were made of purple, and there was actually a tablet in Shaolin Temple with Li Siming's name signed on it. Now, one of the legends of what actually happened is that he actually let the monks no longer have to swear to one of the rules they must follow. The rule was, thou shalt not drink or eat meat. So technically the Shaolin monks do not have to drink or eat meat. I still don't think that's very feasible, because when you look at the Shaolin Temple, they can't kill. And it's up in the mountains, so where would they get the meat from? It's not like they can actually bring some farm animal up on the mountain and then kill them themselves. So they probably still do not eat or drink, technically. However, this rule seems to apply because of the sanctity of the temple. This exemption only applies if they actually leave the mountain. So this became the basis for the legend that Shaolin Temple had drunken fist, because they are exempt from not drinking. Okay? Now let's look at what modern Shaolin looks like. Here we have the abbot, Shi Yongxin, in his robes in a meditative position. But interestingly enough, Shi Yongxin is actually the only abbot in Shaolin history to have the MBA. He has an MBA. After what he does in the morning, with his meditative stance in the morning, which we saw in the previous slide, he likes to check his stocks and check the quality of Shaolin Corporation, or Incorporated. Now, Shaolin Temple is a registered trademark, and it has a CEO, and that CEO is Shi Yongxin. He has cars, he has the internet, and he has done a lot of things to Shaolin Temple which many people are not happy about. But let's have a look at what he has actually done. Well, before him, with the old abbot, Su Xin, there was a lot of martial arts schools near Shaolin Temple. Now, this didn't actually appear until the 80s and 90s. The reason for that was because Jet Li made a movie called Shaolin Temple. After that, you had thousands of children running away from home to go to Shaolin Temple to train under a monk, only to find that Shaolin Temple was just a temple with no martial arts in it. So what happened? The government had to actually make a special train track or train service to take all these children back home. Now, the entrepreneur thought this is actually good money. So what they decided to do is build a lot of Shaolin-themed martial arts school in or nearby Shaolin Temple. So the original Shaolin Temple of the 90s had a lot of martial arts schools, all claiming to be the orthodox, the true Shaolin Temple. You have a lot of schools teaching martial arts. Now what Shi Yongxing has done, when he came into place, he actually demolished the majority of them. A few actually stayed. The few that stayed were the ones that were politically significant enough that they had more power than Shi Yongxing had to demolish. So some stayed. One of the biggest ones is called Tago, and that's actually right next to Shaolin Temple, like literally right next to Shaolin Temple. But Shaolin Temple itself does not have as many schools anymore. But nearby, in the city next to it, roughly around 15-minute drive down the mountain, in the county of Dongfeng, you still see a lot of schools. So you have your the best Shaolin school, the #1 Shaolin school, the Dragon's Descendant Shaolin school, Dongfeng Eastern Shaolin school, Shaolin school for women, Little Dragon Shaolin school, Bruce Lee Shaolin school. So you have a lot of gimmicky names and a lot of schools. They still exist, and pretty much if you walk down Dongfeng County, the town itself, you probably have a 60% chance of running into a bunch of kids and starting a fight. Because you remember, you have a whole bunch of teenage kids pent up in one little town who learned a lot of martial arts but are forbidden to fight. So street fights are very common in Dongfeng. So that's one of the things he has done. So he has demolished. But the good thing about demolishing a lot of those schools nearby, the Shaolin Temple itself, is that he's trying to actually get Shaolin Temple to be recognized as a World Heritage Site by the UNESCO. Shaolin Temple, believe it or not, is not a registered area, whereas Wudang Mountain has been registered for the last 50 years. So he was aiming for that. So by doing that, he's trying to preserve the authenticity of Shaolin Temple, to stop people from just falsely using the name Shaolin Temple and trying to make money. Here we have a modern, quotation marks, a modern Shaolin monk. Now, the one you read, this one. Okay? Now he is versing a Muay Thai champion. His name is Zheng Kai-yin. Okay, Zheng Kai-yin. He's been quite famous because he not only once but twice defeated Muay Thai champions in Sanda, Chinese kickboxing. Now, when they advertise him, they say he is a Shaolin monk or secular disciple of Shaolin. But realistically, he has nothing to do with the temple. He actually came from Tago. He came from the school nearby, and here's a picture of them training. So we have, that's just some of them. This is a photo I took when I was on my trip to Shaolin Temple. So that's just a small, you can see in the background here, a lot of the kids. This was a Sunday afternoon, by the way. On a Monday, there would be 5 times as much, I believe. So Tago, I think, has a couple thousand kids in there. It's the largest Shaolin school in Dongfeng. So what actually happens there, they have a lot of coaches there, instructors there, all claiming to be Shaolin monks, all claiming to be such and such descendant, such and such is disciple. But is this actually true? Now, Shaolin Temple also has a medical tradition. Originally, Shaolin Temple, as a Buddhist tradition community, they were obligated to heal the weak. Now, this is my photos from my trip to Shaolin Temple. This is the Shaolin Temple pharmacy. This is where the herbs happen. As you can see, the herbs here. Interestingly enough, those cabinets, those drawers are actually empty. It's only there for show, and what they actually sell is Shaolin special plum throat lollies or Shaolin trauma injury medicine. So pretty much in this case it's become a front. Shaolin Temple has, in its current state, become quite commercial in that it costs you 100 RMB to enter the gates, a few more to enter the temple itself, and if you want to buy anything, you have to buy stuff when you're there. It's become a giant tourist attraction. This is a statue of Dharma at the tip of one of the mountains near Shaolin Temple. Now, according to what they say about Shaolin monks training, every morning they wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. and run up to the top of the mountain. It's roughly around 1.5 kilometers. Now, if you walk it, it'll probably take you around an hour and a half to walk that distance up that mountain. And halfway up the mountain, you have the cave which Dharma supposedly stayed for 9 years. Well, this is at the very top of that mountain. Now, on the way to the top of the mountain, you notice something very interesting. Most of you believe, I hope, I don't know, that Shaolin Temple has a lot of male monks. Yes? Yep, male monks. Do you think Shaolin Temple has any females? No? Well, interesting enough, Shaolin Temple, roughly, I don't know, 10 minutes on that trail up to the mountain, you can find a nunnery. Okay? This nunnery is actually called Nunnery Dedicated to the First Zen Ancestor. So you also have nuns living on Shaolin, on Sumsang as well, near Shaolin Temple. So do these nuns actually practice martial arts? Well, I don't know about before, but they do now. I don't know if it's a result of commercialism or modernization, but I think they're also getting to the gimmick of Shaolin martial arts as well, which may or may not be a good thing. Now, this is the one you see in all those movies with the grounds. I took this one, so it's not very clear. Now, I don't know if you can see a little dent here, and here, and here. These are actual dents. These are the dents in one of the halls in Shaolin Temple. Now, apparently, according to the story, these dents were created by the monks training so hard and stomping on the ground caused the dents over a period of a few hundred years. That's not true, because majority of the monks would actually train outdoors. The only time Shaolin monks actually trained indoors in this particular area was actually during the Qing dynasty, in which Shaolin monks were not permitted to practice martial arts. So they would actually wore themselves into this little hole and just train. So it means that rather than a few hundred years causing this, might have been just a hundred or so. And then you also take into consideration that it hasn't actually been used after the 1950s, so that amount of time is actually reduced yet again. So it does mean that the Shaolin monks, the Kung Fu in terms of the stomping is actually quite strong to actually cause this. So there should be no doubt in that terms of Shaolin's dedication and training. Okay, now I'm just seeing if I have any more. And that's it. So my conclusion for you guys is this: Shaolin Temple, whilst the Shaolin Temple itself is commercialized and not much can be said about the temple itself, and a lot of the history subject to a lot of bias and a lot of interpretation, depending on how you interpret it. Shaolin Kung Fu does exist, but it is not anywhere as pure as one would say. You cannot really say if someone is practicing the real Shaolin Temple, Shaolin martial arts. You cannot even say Shaolin Temple martial arts is real in terms of practicality, but you can say Shaolin Temple has played a huge part in the development of Chinese martial arts, as well as our understanding of Chinese martial arts culture today. Thank you. Any questions? No? Yes?
Question, because traditional Shaolin is very short stands or something like that, right? But the modern one has longer stands.
Yeah.
So would you say the short one is more effective than the long stands? Or no?
Okay, to answer that question, it is partially due to performance. When you look at someone performing, and someone is in a bigger, longer, more elegant looking stance, it looks a lot more pleasing to the eye than someone just walking around like getting 2 steps. Originally, Shaolin Kung Fu was designed to be practiced in a very small room. That is why they never actually move more than in a straight line, because you might only have that area here to practice, just up and down those stairs. So your movements have to be small. You cannot go other than linear, straight up and down. And in terms of effectiveness, well, the problem with spreading yourself too long is that it becomes slower, and also when you transfer the power, there's not as much power because the distance is a lot further to travel for the power. Whereas the hip generation for the punching, it's only very quick from foot to hip to arm to shoulder to arm to fist. Whereas the big one, you have to sort of do a lunge and then move in. So in terms of power, they will become somewhat limited as well. And also the type of power training is also different. Long punching versus short punching, the sort of power generated is different yet again. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Are the punches mainly locked elbow or bent?
Okay, so we talked about that in the previous. It says bent but not bent, straight but not straight. So it's not really easy to actually understand just how the punches should be. Okay, some Shaolin punches are bent, some are straight. Majority of the time, Shaolin punches often start off bent and come out bent and only punch straight and then suddenly bend backwards. A lot of times like that. For example, in 7-star cheating style, the punches actually come around here. Check it. They come across here from the inside. They come out. So they're exploding power. So it's bent here, and at the end they might straighten. But as it straightens, it comes up to the next one, and also always bending in, coming out. Even though the distance travel, the line travel is a straight line, getting to it is bent. So this is 7-star. Whereas you have your Xiaohongquan, where it's very straight line, but palms are always bent. They never actually extend the palm this far. So palm. Very bent. So it depends on the style again. Whereas you have other traditions, for example, other traditions such as long fist styles of Shaolin. For example, Liu Lu Duan Da, for example, of Shaolin. The punching is more straight. So you have movements where it starts off like that, up. Straight punch. Straight punch it again. Then straight punch. Versus other styles. For example, Liu He style. The punches tend to be quite short, where you have part of it's like this palm. Palm. It's always bent. Always bent. Different styles, depending on the school as well.
Well, in your research, would you go for the bent elbow school of thought or the locked elbow?
Locked.
You go for the locked.
Oh, no. It's hard to say exactly, because Shaolin, the text made a specific part where it says bent but not bent, straight but not straight. So the research itself is not very exact on what you should do. Realistically, if you punch too straight, it actually limits what you can do, because of the rebound can cause you to actually sit on your shoulder. Whereas if you bend too much, there's actually not much power coming out as well. So you do have to sort of find the balance. So if you're punching too bent, you're not actually using your arm, you're only using your body just slightly. But you sort of have to find a balance which is half bent, half straight. I believe that is what Shaolin Temple is actually emphasizing, where it says bent but not bent, straight but not straight. So once again, unless I travel back in time 1,000 years and actually ask them, I don't think we can ever really understand what they mean. Bent but not bent, straight but not straight.
That's so because also that Shaolin might also learn Scorpion and Phoenix first.
Scorpion, there's actually no real literature saying that they actually did learn it. As I said, a lot of performance, they do a lot of strange animals, correct? In terms of Phoenix fist is a type of how you hold the fist. Okay, Phoenix fist is known as the Phoenix eye fist. You see this a lot in more internal styles like Xingyi. You see a lot of Phoenix fist. Okay, one example of Phoenix fist is actually like this. this sort of thing when you punch. Someone will say this is Phoenix Fist, some people go for this one. The majority of Phoenix Fist goes for the concept that it is a punch where you have one knuckle protruding. It's Phoenix Fist. So you can't use Phoenix Fist as an example of an animal style or a particular style by itself, because it's just a type of fist positioning. Yeah. Any other questions? I know I didn't really cover Southern Shaolin, because Northern Shaolin itself is very complicated. If we cover Shaolin, Southern Shaolin, we can go on for days. Because let's face it, during the Ming Dynasty, Southern Shaolin, Southern styles became very prominent, and there would be 100 Southern styles to one Northern style. That's how prominent it became. Do you have any other questions? Oh, we'll wrap it up for today. Thank you.